Her card
This is
declines.
so good.
Humiliated, she
I
taps the
can't believe
cheapest
I've
Uber
never had
she's ever
jollof this
taken.
amazing.
A calm black driver in a
Told you
dented
Uncle Tunde is
sedan
the
treats her
best.
like
What I
fragile
say?
first
Are you
class.
okay?
When he says,
Yeah,
"Text
I'm
me when
okay
you're
now.
home," she feels her whole life quietly tilt. Before we dive in, make sure to hit subscribe, tap like, and share this video. The more voices we reach, the louder these stories become. And drop your city in the comments. Let's see where love finds us. The surge price banner glared at her like a taunt. 7,800, high demand. Underneath, a smaller line pulsed, "Try Uber Saver," from 2,900. Delilah Brooks stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the more expensive option out of habit. She was the kind of woman who usually chose Uber Black without thinking. Airport transfers, client dinners, late-night rides home from her glass tower job. Sleek cars, bottled water, quiet drivers. It was just what life looked like when you'd done everything right. Except tonight, everything felt wrong. Her eyes were still puffy from the bathroom stall crying she'd done an hour earlier, after her boss closed the door and announced cost-cutting measures, and this isn't about your performance, it's the market. Her promotion had evaporated before it was even announced. So had the raise she'd already mentally spent. On shows. On rent. On pretending she wasn't one bad month away from a free fall. A notification flashed across the top of her screen. Card declined. Insufficient funds. The app had tried to pre-authorize the ride she always took business class, and bounced. Heat rushed to her face, even though no one else could see her phone. Thick, curvy, sexy, perfectly made-up white woman in a fitted black dress and a camel coat, standing under the harsh fluorescent flicker of the office building's awning, silently panicking over a declined card. She swallowed, thumb trembling. Fine. She tapped Uber Saver. The fare dropped. Her pride did too, just a little. "Whatever," she muttered, shifting her weight in her heels. "It's just a car." A small older sedan appeared on the map, inching toward her like it was tired. Driver, Jamal R., rating 4.98, 2,104 trips. The profile photo showed a black man in his early 30s, warm brown skin, short-cropped hair, a faint smile that didn't seem forced. There was something steady in his eyes, even through the tiny pixelated thumbnail. Delilah sniffed and checked her reflection in the dark glass of the building. Her long blonde hair was still smooth, tumbling over her shoulders in loose waves. Her lipstick, deep red, her armor, hadn't smudged. Her dress hugged the generous curve of her hips and the softness of her stomach in a way that usually made her feel powerful. Tonight, it mostly reminded her that her shapewear was too tight and her lungs were working for overtime pay. Headlights swept across the curb. The sedan that pulled up was exactly the kind of car she'd spent years outgrowing. Old silver paint dulled to a weary grey, a small dent near the back bumper, one hubcap missing. The engine rattled softly, even in park. A hanging pine tree air freshener tilted from the rearview mirror, faded green. The passenger window rolled down with a groan. "Delilah?" the driver called, voice low and warm. She forced a polite smile and stepped closer, her curves shifting under her dress with each careful heel click on the pavement. "Yeah, that's me." He leaned slightly so she could see his face better. The profile picture hadn't lied. He was handsome in a quiet, grounded way. Dark eyes, a neatly trimmed beard, shoulders broad under a simple dark hoodie. No flashy watches, no designer anything, just a solid presence in a worn driver's seat. "Evening," he said. "I'm Jamal. You're headed to Harbour Lane, right?" "Right." He unlocked the doors with a soft thunk. "Take your time. Watch your step. The curb's a little uneven here." The care in his words caught her off guard. Nobody ever told her to take her time. They told her to hurry, to deliver, to push harder, to get ahead. She shifted her bag higher on her shoulder and opened the back door. The seat was cloth, not leather. It hugged her curves differently, springs dipping a little under her weight. A faint mix of vanilla air freshener and something warm, maybe coffee, lingered in the car. A soft R&B track hummed low from the speakers. "Seatbelt's a little sticky," Jamal said, glancing at her in the mirror. "You might have to tug it twice." Of course, she tugged once, twice, 3 times before the belt jerked free and slid across her chest, cutting diagonally across the swell of her breasts. She fumbled with it, aware of every inch of her body, every place her dress clung. "You're good," he said gently, turning down the radio. "We're not going anywhere till you're comfortable." The way he said it wasn't suggestive. It was matter of fact, steady. The knot in her shoulders loosened by a fraction. She clicked the buckle in. There. Sorry. No need to apologize for staying alive, he replied, easing the car away from the curb. City lights blurred past the window, neon signs, late-night food stalls, people still hustling. She watched them in silence, replaying the day in her head like a bad movie. You ever notice, she said suddenly, surprising even herself, how everything can look exactly the same outside, but everything inside you is on fire? The words were out before she could snatch them back. God, why was she talking? Jamal's gaze flicked to the mirror, then back to the road. Yeah, he said quietly, I've noticed that a few times. She almost laughed. Sorry, that was weird, it's been a long day. You don't owe me the I'm fine act, he said, but you also don't owe me your business, so we can ride in silence if you'd rather. Something in his tone, respectful, no pressure, made her throat tighten. I got bad news at work, she heard herself say, and then my card declined for the ride I wanted, so now I'm in the cheap one. And I know that sounds spoiled, but it just... Her voice wobbled. It felt like one more person saying, you don't get the nice things anymore. He didn't laugh. He didn't tell her to be grateful she could afford anything. He just nodded once, as if she'd said the most reasonable thing in the world. I don't think wanting nice things makes you spoiled, he answered. Sometimes it just means you're tired of fighting all the time. She blinked. You sound like a therapist. He smiled, the corner of his mouth lifting. Nah, just a driver who listens to a lot of people at their worst hours. A notification buzzed on her phone. An email preview slid across the top of the screen. Subject, revised compensation package. She turned the phone face down like it had burned her. Bad? He asked. Worse, she said. But I'm not opening that until I'm home and wearing sweatpants. Good strategy. They stopped at a red light. The glow washed over his face, softening the lines at the corners of his eyes. He tapped the steering wheel with his thumb to the beat of the music. Can I ask you something? He said. Depends. Are you hungry? She frowned. What? He lifted his hands from the wheel in a small, peaceable gesture. Not trying anything. There's a little jollof stand we're going to pass in about 10 minutes. Guy stays open late for drivers and nurses and security folks. If your day's been that bad, sometimes eating something warm before you crash helps more than crying into a pillow. Her defenses rose automatically. I don't usually, she trailed off. Don't usually what? Eat street food? Take detours with strangers? Admit she was hungry in more ways than one. You can say no, he added softly. I get paid either way. I'll still get you home safe. The word safe hooked into her. She glanced at the clock on the dashboard. It was almost midnight. Her fridge was a barren landscape of mustard and half a lemon. The idea of microwaving instant noodles in a silent apartment made her chest ache. Is it good? She asked. Best in the city, he said without hesitation. And I'd never take you anywhere I wouldn't bring my niece or my mom. Promise. She studied his eyes in the mirror, looking for any hint of creepiness, any sideways leer at her curves. All she saw was patience. And something else she couldn't name, like he was holding space open for her to step into, but not dragging her there. Fine, she said. One stop. But if I disappear, I'm haunting you. His laugh filled the car, rich and deep. Deal, ghost in the back seat, scolding me for bad route choices. The light turned green. As they drove, she noticed small details she'd missed in her initial judgment. The dashboard was clean, no trash wedged in the cup holders. A small laminated card hung from the back of the passenger seat. If the music's too loud, tell me. If you're not okay, you don't have to talk, but you're not alone. Did Uber make you put that there? She asked, fingertips brushing the edge of the card. No, he said. Uber doesn't care if your soul's falling apart as long as your GPS is on. Then why? Because sometimes, he said quietly, the cheapest ride is the only one people can afford. But that doesn't mean they don't deserve to feel like humans on the way home. The words settled into the space between them, heavier than the traffic noise, louder than the radio. Delilah looked down at the app again, at the little icon of his beat-up car inching toward her destination. She'd booked the cheapest option because she'd had no choice. For the first time all day, something in her chest eased, not because anything had gotten fixed, not because her job was magically safe. but because someone who didn't know her at all had decided she still deserved gentleness. The city opened up ahead of them, neon and moonlight spilling across cracked asphalt. In the back of an old, rattling sedan with a stranger who knew how to make room for other people's storms, Delilah realized maybe cheap and first class had been the wrong labels all along. The jollof stand lived in the kind of corner the city forgot, a narrow strip of pavement wedged between a laundromat and a shuttered electronics shop, lit by a buzzing fluorescent tube and the orange glow of a charcoal grill. Steam rose in curls, wrapping the air in the smell of tomatoes, peppers and smoke. A handwritten cardboard sign leaned against a crate. Jollof. Suya, chicken, cash or transfer. Jamal pulled up to the curb and put the car in park. "This is it," he said. "Culinary therapy. 5 stars. Would cry here again." Despite herself, Delilah smiled. "That your official review?" "Pinned to my soul." He glanced back at her. "You okay getting out in those heels?" She looked down at her shoes. Black stilettos that had carried her through boardrooms and bar nights, now about to tackle a cracked sidewalk. "I'll manage." He was already out of the car. By the time she opened her door, he was there, one hand lightly on the frame, the other extended, not grabbing, just offering. She hesitated, then took it. His palm was warm and steady. For a moment, the cheap little strip of pavement felt like a red carpet. "Thanks," she muttered, pulling her coat tighter around her curvy frame. The night air nipped at her bare legs, goosebumps rising along her thighs. The city felt louder out here, more honest. The man behind the stand looked up and broke into a wide grin. "Ah, Jamal, my night shift millionaire. You're late!" "Traffic, Uncle Tunde," Jamal said, his voice softening with affection. "You still feeding the broken-hearted and underpaid?" "Always." Uncle Tunde's eyes flicked to Delilah, sparkling with curiosity but not malice. "You bring fine company tonight, hmm?" Heat crept up her neck. She adjusted her coat, suddenly hyper-aware of her dress hugging every curve. Jamal just smiled. "Just making sure people don't go home sad and hungry. Can we get 2 jollof, extra plantain, 1 with chicken, 1 with suya, and the pepper on hers?" "I can handle it," Delilah cut in. "Don't you dare mild my food." Uncle Tunde laughed. "Oh ho, this one has spirit." He reached for styrofoam containers. "You want drink? Malt? Soda?" Her phone buzzed in her hand, another notification from her bank. Balance 3,014.89 transport. The numbers swam. She opened her digital wallet anyway, jaw tight. Do you take card or—" "Transfer is fine," Uncle Tunde said. She pulled up the app, fingers clumsy. The total appeared on the screen. It was nothing compared to what she used to spend on a single client drink. It still felt like a cliff. Jamal's hand touched her elbow, gentle. "Hey, don't worry about it." "No." Pride snapped awake. "I can pay for my own food." "I know you can." His eyes held hers, calm, not pitying. "Let me do this one. Call it driver hazard pay, emotional spillage fee." Her throat tightened. "Jamal, if it makes you feel better," he added, "you can tip me in therapy later, or a 5-star review. Those are like gold." Uncle Tunde snorted. "Guy, you're too soft. One day, woman will come and carry your whole heart away." "Maybe she'll bring snacks," Jamal said easily. Delilah should have insisted again, but the truth throbbed at the back of her skull. If the transfer failed, she'd have to laugh it off, find an ATM, humiliate herself in front of these men who'd been nothing but kind. She let go of the fight. "Fine," she said softly. "You win. This round. Just this one." He stepped forward, scanned a QR code and completed the transfer with the ease of someone who'd done it 1,000 times. They waited while Uncle Tunde piled fragrant orange rice, glossy with oil, into containers. The scent hit her hard. Tomato, spice, char, a warmth that seemed to find every hollow place inside her. "Table?" Jamal asked. She glanced at the nearby plastic tables, wobbly, ringed with oil stains. A couple of nurses in scrubs sat at one, laughing tiredly over their food. A security guard at another hunched over his phone, eating like it was the best part of his day. "Yeah," she said quietly. "Table." They picked one a little off to the side. Delilah lowered herself carefully onto the flimsy chair, feeling it protest under her curves. Her dress rode up her thighs, and she tugged it down, suddenly exposed. Jamal noticed, but the way he noticed made all the difference. No lingering stare, no smirk, just a small frown, like he was irritated on her behalf at the cold. He shrugged off his hoodie in one smooth motion. Underneath, his t-shirt stretched across a chest that looked carved rather than sculpted in a gym. Work strong, not vanity strong. "Here," he said, holding the hoodie out. "You're shivering." "I'm fine," she lied. "You'll be cold." "I've been cold before," he answered. "You're in a sleeveless dress. Give me this wind too." She hesitated, then slid her arms into the hoodie. It was warm from his body, soft against her skin, swallowing her perfume and replacing it with his scent. Soap, a hint of engine oil, something that felt like the inside of a good hug. The sleeves covered her hands. For the first time that day, she didn't feel like a perfectly polished product. She felt like a person. Uncle Tunde set the containers and bottles of soda on their table. "Eat. Don't talk too much first. You can cry later." She laughed, surprised. "Do you get a lot of criers?" "Night shift," he said matter-of-factly. "People bring their tears, their hunger, their stupid boyfriends, their bad bosses. The rice listens. I just collect the plates." When he walked away, they dug in. The first bite of jollof was a revelation. Smoky, spicy, the heat building slow and steady. The plantain was caramelized at the edges, sweet and soft. Her eyes stung, but for once it wasn't for a bathroom stall breakdown. "Okay," she said around a mouthful. "I take it back. This is worth getting my life ruined for." Jamal smiled, chewing thoughtfully. "Your life's not ruined," says the man who didn't just get demoted by email. "Not yet tonight," he said, "but give the universe time." She arched a brow. "You too?" He rested his elbow on the table, fork dangling from his fingers. "I used to work in a garage during the day," he said. "Good shop, good people. Then the owner decided he'd rather sell the land than keep fixing other people's engines." "Just like that. Just like that. It's not personal, Jamal. It's business." He mimicked the voice without bitterness. "Everything's business when your name's on the papers." "What about your name?" she asked. His gaze dropped to the table, then back up. "My name's on a lease. My mom's meds. My little sister's school fees. You can't print that on stock certificates, apparently." There was no self-pity in his voice. Just facts, laid out like tools on a workbench. "So you drive," she said. "So I drive," he agreed. "Nights, mostly. Better surge, more lonely people who tip. During the day, I do whatever comes, odd jobs, fixing neighbours' cars, helping my aunt at her shop if she's short-staffed." "And what did you want to do?" she pressed. "Before all of this?" He smiled, small and crooked. "Sound engineering. I used to play around with recordings, mix tracks. I love the way you can shape how a moment feels, how loud the heartbeat is under the noise." Her own heartbeat stuttered. "Do you still do it?" she asked. "Sometimes," he said. "For church, for friends' videos, not for money. It's harder to love it when it has to pay the bills." He tilted his head, studying her. "What about you? What did you want to do before your inbox declared war?" Her fork paused midway. "I wanted to matter," she said finally. "I didn't care how. I just didn't want to feel like I was ornamental, like I was only worth anything if I looked good walking into a room." He didn't look at her body. He looked at her eyes. "Who told you that was all you were?" he asked, voice very soft. The old tape started playing in her head. The backhanded compliments, the "you're lucky, you're pretty." The way certain bosses let their eyes wander before they let promotions drift to other people. "Lots of people," she answered, "and I believed them enough that I made the image my whole personality. Designer everything, first-class flights, fancy cars. If I could keep the outside shiny enough, maybe nobody would notice I was terrified I didn't actually deserve any of it." He nodded slowly. "You ever notice how the people who say it's not personal, it's just business, always make it personal when it benefits them?" She huffed out a breath that was almost a laugh. "You're annoyingly insightful for someone who calls himself just a driver." "I never said just," he replied. "You did." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. The night pressed in around them, but it didn't feel suffocating. Her shoulders had dropped an inch. Her stomach, which had been a knot all evening, had loosened into something like warmth. A text popped up on her phone from her best friend Sasha. "Heard about the demotion. Your boss is trash. I'm on early shift. Call me tomorrow. Love you." Her vision blurred. "You need a minute?" Jamal asked. She shook her head, blinking the tears away. "If I start, I might not stop." "Then we'll just breathe," he said. "What?" He set his fork down, wiped his hands on a napkin and lifted them slightly, palms open on the table. "In for 4, he said calmly. Out for 6. It tricks your nervous system into thinking you're safe, even if your brain's having a meltdown. She eyed him. You do this with all your passengers? Only the ones who are about to explode, he said. And myself. A lot. She surprised herself by copying him. In for 4. Out for 6. Her chest rose and fell, the too tight shapewear protesting, but the steady count in his voice grounded her. 1 more, he murmured. By the 3rd breath, the buzzing in her skull had dialed down from siren to hum. There, he said. Still here. Barely, she said, but her lips twitched. They finished eating in comfortable silence. When they finally stood, she realized she'd forgotten, for almost 30 minutes, to worry about her bank balance, her title, her slipping status. On the way back to the car, she shrugged out of his hoodie. Thank you, she said. For this. For not making me feel stupid. He took the hoodie, folding it loosely over his arm. You're not stupid, Delilah. You're just tired. There's a difference. In the car again, the city moving past in streaks of light. The ride felt different. Less like a transaction, more like an in-between space. A pause. He glanced at the app. I'll end the stopover so you don't get overcharged, he said. They don't pay us for kindness. But you do it anyway, she said. Yeah, he smiled faintly. First-class service in an economy car. It's my brand. Something in her chest shifted at that, a quiet click, like a lock meeting the right key. Jamal? She said as they turned onto the road that would eventually lead to her apartment. Yeah? You're wrong about one thing. Oh, he asked. What's that? This. She gestured around the worn seats, the dangling air freshener, the dashboard with its little scratches and scuffs. This doesn't feel cheap at all. He didn't say anything for a moment, eyes steady on the road. Then that slow, warm smile returned. Good, he said, because you don't either. Her breath caught. The rest of the ride unfolded in a kind of fragile peace, the kind that made her afraid to move too quickly in case it shattered. But outside the window, the city was already rearranging itself, and somewhere ahead, a new kind of night waited to begin. The city outside the window had thinned into quieter streets by the time Delilah realized she was dreading her own front door. Her building was only 15 minutes from the jollof stand, but the ride felt suspended in some softer pocket of time. The old sedan hummed steadily, dashboard lights casting a low glow over Jamal's profile. The R&B had shifted into something instrumental, piano notes like gentle footsteps. Her phone buzzed again in her lap. Same subject line as before, revised compensation package. You should open it, Jamal said quietly, eyes on the road. I really don't want to. Want me to pull over first? She hesitated. Why? Because finding out you've been devalued while your car is moving is a special kind of hell, he said. At least if we're parked, you only have to feel one kind of motion. It was a simple offer, but it landed like safety. Okay, she whispered. He eased the car into a side street lined with sleeping shops and one still-open pharmacy. He killed the headlights, but left the engine idling, the car a small island of hum in the stillness. Whenever you're ready, he said. Her thumb hovered, then tapped. The email filled the screen. Her eyes raced over phrases. Role adjustment, economic climate, temporary salary reduction, opportunity to prove yourself in a revised capacity. We appreciate your understanding. By the time she reached the end, the words had blurred. So? Jamal asked softly. Her laugh came out broken. They're keeping me, sort of, cutting my pay, stripping my title, telling me I should be grateful not to be fired. She swallowed hard. They wrote 3 paragraphs to say I'm cheaper now. The word tasted like rust. A tear slipped out before she could swipe it away. Then another. Then more. I've been killing myself for them, she choked. Late nights, weekends, making myself look perfect, being charming with clients who talk to my chest instead of my face. And overnight, I'm a discount version of me. Jamal's hand stayed on the wheel, but she saw his knuckles flex. Delilah, he said, voice low. Look at me. She lifted her gaze to the rearview mirror. His eyes were there, steady and warm. Take a breath, he said. In for 4, out for 6. She shook her head, chest tight, the shapewear of ice. I can't. You can, he murmured. Not because I say so, because your body knows how. Just follow the numbers, not the thoughts. In for 4. His voice was so calm that it slipped under the panic and took her hand from the inside. She sucked in air. 1, 2, 3, 4, he counted quietly. Good. Out for 6, slow. She exhaled shakily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, he said. By the fifth breath, the tremor in her hands had eased. Tears still slid down her cheeks, but they were slower now, less like a storm and more like overdue rain. "This isn't fair," she whispered. "It isn't," he agreed. "And it isn't your fault." Her lip wobbled. "Feels like it is. That's because the people who benefit from you blaming yourself are really good at writing emails." It shouldn't have made her want to laugh and sob at the same time, but it did. A small wet sound escaped her. "You know what I see?" he went on. "A woman who got hit by a truck today and is somehow still sitting upright in heels in my back seat trying to apologize for crying. Her throat burned. I hate that I'm crying in front of you." "Why?" he asked. "Because I'm supposed to be put together, in control. The woman who walks into rooms and orders expensive drinks and doesn't flinch when the bill comes. Do you want to be her?" he asked gently. "Or do you just know how to play her?" The question stopped her. "I don't know," she admitted. He nodded, like that was the most honest answer in the world. "Well, for what it's worth, I like this version. The one who says, 'I can handle the pepper,' cries when things hurt, and lets herself be human enough to wear someone else's hoodie." She looked down. She was still wrapped in his hoodie, his warmth lingering in the fabric. In the reflection, she didn't look like the polished campaign manager version of herself. Hair slightly mussed, mascara smudged at the corners, cheeks flushed from spice and tears. She looked real. A thought crept in, fragile and terrifying. "What if this is all I can afford now?" she whispered. "Cheap rides, discount dinners, second-rate everything." "Then the world's misusing the word cheap," Jamal said. He reached down and tapped the dashboard lightly. "This car isn't much to look at," he went on. "Paint's tired, engine's got more stories than some people I know. But I keep it clean, I keep it safe. I fix what breaks. I don't cut corners where it matters. Someone might look at it and call it cheap." He met her eyes again in the mirror. "But tonight it carried you where you needed to go, didn't it?" Her chest ached. "Yeah." "The bosses, the brands, the titles." He shrugged. "They're the glossy cars, nice when you can get them. But the first-class part? That's how someone treats you in the seat, whether they listen, whether they see you, whether they make room for all your weight without making you feel like too much." All your weight. He didn't mean her body, but it resonated there too. Every time someone had called her a lot, every time an ex had joked about her taking up space, physically, emotionally, financially, those words had burrowed deep. "When you booked this ride," he said quietly, "you picked my car because the app told you it was the cheapest. You had no idea what you were really getting." Her lips parted. "What am I really getting?" He held her gaze, no flirting, no smirk, just a steady warmth that saw straight through the cracks she tried to hide. "Someone who thinks you deserve better than the way today treated you," he said. Her vision blurred again. "I don't want to go upstairs," she blurted. "I mean, I will. I don't want to walk into that apartment alone and feel like the world went on and didn't notice I fell." He didn't jump in with solutions. He just sat, considering. "I can't come up," he said gently. "Company policy, and also, that's not the kind of comfort you really need right now." She was absurdly grateful he said it first, that he drew the line. "But," he added, "here's what I can do." He reached into the center console and pulled out a small, slightly bent business card. He held it back toward her between two fingers. She took it. The card was simple, printed on matte stock. Jamal Reed, night driver, sound guy. "You're really leaning into the sound guy thing," she said, voice trembling between tears and a laugh. "Gotta speak the future into existence, right?" He smiled. "Listen, when we get to your place, I'll wait downstairs with the engine running until you text me one word, home. Not just I'm inside, but I'm here, I'm breathing, I made it through today." Her heart twisted. "And if," he went on, "you ever have another night like this, and the app throws my car at you again, or you just need a ride that feels like a pause button, you text that number. If I'm on shift, I'll swing by. If I'm not, I'll tell you honestly. No promises I can't keep." Delilah closed her hand around the card like it was a lifeline. "Why?" she whispered. "You don't even know me." "Tonight, I know enough," he said simply. "Enough to care." The ache in her chest broke open. Not in the catastrophic way she'd feared, but like a dam giving way to make room for a river that had always wanted out. "Okay," she said. "Okay." He turned the headlights back on. The car eased out of the side street and toward her neighborhood. When they pulled up in front of her building, a modest, slightly peeling block she never posted on social media, he put the car in park but didn't end the trip yet. "You want me to walk you to the door?" he asked. No pressure. Some people hate that. Some people feel safer. She surprised herself by nodding. "Please." He killed the engine this time, stepped out and met her on the sidewalk. The night air bit at her bare legs again, but the hoodie wrapped around her held the warmth in. They walked to the entrance in silence, not touching, the distance between them charged but clean. At the door she turned, suddenly shy. Up close she could see the faint scar along his jaw, the tiny flecks of fatigue in his eyes. He smelled like spice now, and smoke from the grill, and something she was already starting to think of as home. "Thank you," she said, "for the food, the breathing, the not making fun of me for crying in your back seat. Thank you," he said, "for trusting a stranger with a cracked dashboard more than your pride." Her laugh caught on a half sob. "Can I?" She gestured vaguely, then stopped herself. "Never mind." He tilted his head. "Can you what?" She swallowed. "Can I hug you?" she asked softly. "I'll survive without it. I think if someone doesn't hold me for 2 seconds, I might actually fall over." His expression shifted, something bright and gentle moving through it. "Thank you for asking," he said. "Yes, you can." He opened his arms, slow, giving her room to bail. She stepped forward instead. He hugged her like he drove, steady, intentional, no sudden moves. His arms wrapped around her, one hand resting respectfully high on her back, the other between her shoulder blades. The embrace didn't squeeze or grab, it simply held. For 2 seconds, then 3. "Okay," he murmured. She nodded against his shoulder, tears soaking a tiny patch of his t-shirt. "Yeah, better than okay." They pulled apart. The night felt different now, not gentler exactly, but less sharp. "Go inside," he said. "Text me when you're home." She managed a shaky smile. "Yes, sir. And Delilah? Yeah?" He looked at her like he was memorizing the moment. "Next time the world tells you you're cheap, remember this. The night you thought you were at your lowest, you still deserved first-class treatment. From yourself, if from no one else." Her throat closed around the words she wanted to say, so she just nodded and turned toward the door. Upstairs, her apartment looked the same. Couch, dishes in the sink, half-read book on the coffee table. But when she leaned against the closed door, hood up, card in her hand, she didn't feel invisible. She opened her messages. 2, Jamal, sound guy, home. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Good, his reply came. Sleep. Tomorrow is not today. And if tomorrow forgets how to treat you, you know where the jollof stand is. She laughed through fresh tears, the sound softer now. Weeks later, when she would sit in his old silver sedan on purpose, not by accident, on the way to a job interview she actually wanted, or to a tiny studio where he mixed tracks for local artists, she'd look at the cracked dashboard and the man in the driver's seat and think, I booked the cheapest ride. But that was the night someone finally treated my heart like first class.